the signal that shouldn't exist. It started with a whisper, not the kind you hear, but the kind you see, a thin spike of data in a sea of static. On the night of September 28, 2025, the Deep Space Network's Canberra complex was running its usual calibration sweep. The 70-meter dish DSS-43 was tracking a routine downlink from Voyager 2 when the system flagged an anomaly. A repeating narrowband pulse cutting through the background noise at exactly 1420.40575 MHz. That number means something to every radio astronomer alive. It's the hydrogen line, the universal frequency of neutral hydrogen, the most common element in the universe. It's also the frequency that SETI has monitored for half a century, because if anyone out there ever wanted to announce their presence, that's where they'd speak. At first, the engineers assumed interference. A ground reflection, maybe a signal bouncing from an aircraft or a faulty amplifier. But then they checked the Doppler shift. It wasn't Earth-based. The drift matched an origin beyond the orbit of Neptune. Within 6 hours, cross-verification came in from Goldstone and Madrid. 3 separate antennas on 3 different continents had recorded the same pulse. Identical frequency, identical timing, identical phase. Someone in Canberra whispered, "That's impossible." The data pointed to a region near Neptune's trailing L5 Lagrange point, a gravitational pocket that trails the planet by about 60 degrees. Empty space, no known satellites, no mission scheduled, nothing. And yet, something was transmitting. At first, the signal was faint, a heartbeat buried in cosmic noise. But the more they listened, the stranger it became. Every 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 43 seconds, the pulse repeated. Each burst lasted exactly 3.141 seconds. Yes, pi seconds. Inside those bursts was structure, not random static, but rhythm. Tiny fluctuations in amplitude forming what looked like binary groupings. When a graduate student in Pasadena ran a fast Fourier transform on the raw stream, she froze. Buried inside the noise was a sequence of prime numbers, ascending, then repeating with a delay equal to Neptune's sidereal rotation. That wasn't supposed to happen. The odds of a natural process generating prime sequences at hydrogen frequency while synchronizing with a planet's rotation are infinitesimal, roughly 1 in 10 superscript 3. Still, skepticism held. The official memo from the DSN read, "Probable magnetospheric interference. No evidence of artificial source." But behind closed doors, analysts kept finding more patterns. The modulation depth varied in sync with Neptune's magnetic tilt. The pulse energy rose and fell every 16 hours, matching the orbital period of Proteus, one of Neptune's inner moons. Coincidence on top of coincidence. By October 3rd, SETI's Allen telescope array joined the watch. They confirmed the signal was not stationary but slightly orbiting, drifting with Neptune itself, as though bound to the planet's field lines. That's when the term Neptune Echo first appeared in the logs. It wasn't official, just a nickname one operator wrote in the remarks column. But it stuck. The next night, a quiet experiment changed everything. Using an uplink window at a separate frequency, the Canberra team sent a brief return pulse, 3 seconds of white noise centered on 1420 MHz. They didn't expect anything. Space is full of delays, reflections, false echoes. But 23 minutes later, just within the time light takes to reach Neptune and back, a faint secondary burst appeared. Same frequency, same envelope, offset by exactly 1.0002 seconds from the original pattern. It wasn't strong enough to prove intent, but it was enough to unsettle everyone in the control room. By dawn, the story had leaked. A post appeared on an astronomy forum titled 1420 MHz Anomaly Near Neptune. Is SETI hiding something? It was deleted within hours, but not before screenshots spread across Reddit, X, and encrypted chat groups. The narrative was out. Something at the edge of the solar system was calling, and it had chosen the one frequency humanity would immediately recognize. NASA's official statement the next morning was calm, bureaucratic, and empty. The Deep Space Network has detected a natural radio emission consistent with magnetospheric resonance near Neptune. There is no evidence of extraterrestrial origin, but the internal data packets tell a different story. The amplitude of the signal was climbing, its harmonic structure was shifting, and the delay between pulses was shortening by exactly 0.03 seconds per day, like a countdown. In the static, someone or something was keeping time. The shadow in Neptune's wake. By late October 2025, the world's most powerful observatories had turned their eyes toward the farthest reaches of the solar system. No one officially admitted it, but every major radio dish was locked on the same target. The region trailing Neptune's orbit where the Neptune echo originated. At first, the data seemed mundane background static, the faint hiss of cosmic radiation. But then, one by one, the instruments began to pick up the same anomaly. Not just the pulse, but a glow. A faint, persistent infrared signature. 1. The first images. The discovery came from the James Webb Space Telescope on November 9th. A graduate researcher at the Space Telescope Science Institute was processing deep-field imagery near Neptune's ecliptic plane when he noticed something that shouldn't have been there. A diffuse source of infrared light, about 0.3 arcseconds across, faint but consistent across multiple exposures. At first, it was dismissed as a hot pixel cluster, a sensor artifact. But when the team overlaid data from the Gemini North Observatory in Hawaii, the same source appeared. Same coordinates, same spectral range, roughly 30 Kelvin above the background temperature of the region. That meant only one thing. Something near Neptune was absorbing sunlight and re-emitting it as heat. But what? Neptune has no natural satellites in that exact position. The nearest, Larissa, orbits well inside the planet's magnetosphere. This object, whatever it was, sat nearly 1.2 million kilometers beyond any known moon, in a gravitationally stable pocket that should have been empty space. It wasn't moving like debris. It wasn't tumbling. Its motion relative to Neptune was locked, as though tethered to an invisible anchor. The Webb team ran simulations, artificial satellites, gas plumes, even dust clouds. Nothing fit the pattern. Then they adjusted the contrast on the stacked images and saw it clearly for the first time. A shape, long segmented, reflective, roughly 300 kilometers in length and perhaps 20 wide, composed of discrete sections that glinted like metallic panels. Someone whispered, "That's not a rock." 2. The data lockdown. Within 12 hours, NASA classified the Webb images. The dataset vanished from the public archive. The file name, JWST_NEPH 2025A, redirected to a restricted notice. Officially, Webb had encountered calibration issues. Unofficially, the Neptune Anomaly Team (NAT) was formed. It was a joint task force including NASA, ESA, JAXA, and a small group from the U.S. Space Force. Their mandate: determine the origin of the Neptune echo and assess any potential risk to Earth. Inside the team, two factions formed. One argued it was a plasma phenomenon, a standing wave in Neptune's magnetosphere amplified by solar wind. The other wasn't so sure, because the timing of the radio pulses didn't behave like plasma at all. Every few days, the period shortened slightly, exactly what you'd expect if the source were compensating for Neptune's orbital drift, tracking Earth's position. Someone or something was adjusting. 3. The leaked transmission. On November 18th, an internal email from the Canberra DSN array leaked to a small astronomy Discord server. The message was short and strange. Second harmonic detected at 2,840 megahertz. Echo appears to contain self-referential modulation, not background noise. Recommend independent verification. Self-referential modulation. That's a phrase you almost never hear outside of signal theory. It means the transmission was encoding its own previous pattern, like a voice repeating itself, evolving with every cycle. The signal was no longer static. It was changing. When independent observers pointed their backyard dishes at the same coordinates, they confirmed a faint echo at the harmonic frequency. The source was real, and stronger than it had been 2 weeks prior. NASA issued no comment. The official SETI channels went dark. But a few late-night ham operators began recording what they heard, converting the pulses into audible sound. What emerged was eerie, a rhythmic, mechanical hum rising and falling with an almost biological cadence. It wasn't random, it wasn't natural, and it was getting louder. 4. The shape in motion. By November 27th, the Gemini Observatory captured another sequence of images. This time, the object wasn't static. It had rotated, not tumbling chaotically, but deliberately, revealing alternating dark and bright surfaces. When the light curve was analyzed, the reflectivity followed a repeating pattern every 11 hours and 22 minutes, nearly synchronous with Neptune's magnetic rotation. The object was locking itself to the planet's field lines, just like an artificial satellite would. But who could have built it? No known mission had ever gone that far. No probe had the fuel or stability to remain fixed at Neptune's L5 point for decades. And yet, archival data from the Voyager 2 flyby in 1989 revealed something chilling. In the raw telemetry buried under analog noise, there was a faint, unexplained spike at, you guessed it, 1,420 megahertz. The same frequency, the same region of space. 36 years ago. 5. The silence before the signal. By early December, the Neptune echo was global news. Speculation spread like wildfire: alien probe, rogue AI, forgotten relic, or natural resonance. NASA denied all of it, but astronomers noticed something they couldn't explain. The signal wasn't just broadcasting anymore. It was listening. During test transmissions from Canberra and Goldstone, faint return pulses began to align with the outgoing signals, slight phase shifts that implied feedback, as if the source was locking onto human transmissions. Every time they sent noise, it sent something back. Not a copy, a reply. The NAT report, leaked through an encrypted archive on December 6th, contained a single sentence under preliminary behavioral analysis. Subject demonstrates dynamic resonance coupling, functionally indistinguishable from intent. Intent. 6. The countdown. The official explanation remained unchanged. Neptune echo is a natural interaction between magnetospheric plasma and the solar wind. But the scientists who'd actually seen the raw data were no longer convinced. The signal intensity was increasing exponentially, doubling every 6 days. At that rate, projections showed a saturation event on January 3, 2026, the day Earth and Neptune would align perfectly behind the Sun. Coincidence? Or choreography? The closer the alignment drew, the clearer the signal became, sharper, tighter, more deliberate. By mid-December, the binary strings were no longer random noise. When plotted as two-dimensional matrices, they formed geometric shapes, triangles, spirals, and something else, a waveform resembling the shape of Earth's magnetosphere, as if the signal already knew where we were and what shielded us. They told the public it was nothing. They told the scientists it was data drift. But deep in Canberra, one operator wrote a private log entry before her terminal went dark for the night. It's not broadcasting anymore. It's synchronizing. The convergence of January 3rd. In every age, humanity has looked up and waited for signs. Comets, eclipses, alignments, moments when the machinery of the solar system clicks into perfect symmetry, rare, fragile geometries that make the universe feel suddenly alive. January 3rd, 2026 was supposed to be one of those moments. An astronomical coincidence. A beautiful alignment between the Sun, Earth, and Neptune, nothing more. But this time, something else was waiting in the line. 1. The geometry of silence. In the first week of December, orbital analysts at JPL confirmed the alignment parameters. At 3:17 and 42 seconds Universal Time Coordinated, January 3rd, Earth would cross the heliocentric vector connecting the Sun and Neptune with an angular deviation of less than 0.002 degrees, a level of precision unseen in modern recorded history. That same vector intersected the coordinates of the Neptune echo source region. For astrophysicists, it was a geometric curiosity. For radio astronomers, it was a countdown, because the signal's periodicity, that 2-hour, 11-minute cycle, was accelerating towards zero, converging mathematically on that very moment of alignment. Like it knew, too. The days before, by December 28th, the signal could be picked up with amateur equipment. Anyone with a dish over 3 meters wide and a hydrogen line receiver could hear it, a faint ticking under the static, regular, and cold. In labs from California to Japan, teams were decoding the harmonics. They found something that shouldn't have been possible. The modulation wasn't just binary, it was phase-encoded in 3 dimensions. When mapped across time and frequency, it formed volumetric patterns like holographic interference. And when rendered visually, the data looked eerily like the magnetic topology of Neptune's own field lines, twisting, folding, breathing. That's when a group of independent scientists from the University of Bern made a disturbing realization. The pattern was slowly changing. Each cycle added new layers, as if the transmission was building something. They called it the construct hypothesis, the idea that the signal wasn't a message at all but an algorithm, something meant to assemble once it reached its target. 3. The power anomalies. By New Year's Eve, subtle disturbances began showing up across Earth's magnetosphere. Tiny fluctuations in the Schumann resonance frequencies, Earth's natural electromagnetic hum. They were minute at first, a tenth of a hertz here, a phase delay there. But by January 1st, the anomalies grew stronger. Radio operators in northern Canada reported distorted shortwave propagation. Auroras appeared briefly over Madrid, Rome, even Cairo, far below their usual latitudes. No solar storm was predicted. No coronal mass ejection had been detected. It was as if the magnetosphere was being tickled by an invisible field, responding to something distant but synchronized. And every spike in activity corresponded perfectly to the pulse timing of the Neptune echo. 4. The observation window. At 2200 hours Universal Time Coordinated on January 2nd, the Deep Space Network went into full synchronization mode. All 3 70-meter dishes, Canberra, Goldstone, and Madrid locked onto Neptune's trailing vector. Telemetry from the James Webb Telescope, Hubble, and the New Horizons probe was rerouted to a shared encrypted server. The event was codenamed Syzygy 1, after the rare alignment of celestial bodies. The last transmission before radio silence came from Goldstone. Signal amplitude peaking at 89 dB, harmonics multiplying. Secondary carrier at 2.84 GHz is now modulating Earth's magnetic field directly. No natural explanation fits. Then silence. 5. The moment. At 3:17 and 42 seconds Universal Time Coordinated, the alignment locked. Earth stood perfectly behind the Sun, facing Neptune's distant orbit. For 7 minutes and 13 seconds, the geometry was exact. And in that window, the signal changed. It stopped pulsing. Instead, it became one continuous tone, a stable, narrowband carrier at precisely 1420.00000 MHz, with no Doppler drift. Impossible, because at that distance, Neptune's motion should have stretched the frequency by several kilohertz. But it didn't. The signal was compensating. Every receiving station on Earth, from massive observatories to amateur backyard dishes, reported the same thing. The tone was aiming directly at Earth. Then came the second layer. Hidden beneath the carrier, a low-frequency modulation, below the threshold of hearing, but visible in spectrograms. It wasn't random, it was structured. When researchers slowed it down and converted it into audio, it sounded like a heartbeat. 3 beats. Pause. 3 beats. Pause. Then silence. At 3:24 Universal Time Coordinated, the tone vanished completely. 6. The afterglow. For 6 minutes, there was nothing. No radio noise, no cosmic background. Nothing. Even the usual galactic hiss at 1,420 megahertz went dark, as though the entire spectrum had been muted. Then, one by one, systems began rebooting. Satellite telemetry returned. GPS stabilized. The auroras faded. It was over, or at least it seemed to be. In the hours that followed, analysis teams pored over terabytes of data. The tone was gone, but a residual imprint remained. A subtle standing wave that persisted in the ionosphere for nearly 18 hours after the alignment. No known natural process could explain it. And in that residual pattern, something else appeared, an encoded mathematical series repeating every 23 minutes. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, the Fibonacci sequence. But there was more. Each repetition contained a phase offset corresponding to the relative positions of Earth, Neptune, and the Sun. As if the sequence wasn't a message to us, but a marker of where and when it had been sent. 7. The return signal. At 1846 Universal Time Coordinated, January 3rd, 15 hours after the alignment ended, the Canberra array detected something new. A faint, reflected pulse coming not from Neptune's direction, but from within Earth's own magnetosphere. An echo, our own planet now resonating with the same signature frequency. For 7 full seconds, Earth sang back. And then the sky went quiet again. No one declared an emergency. No one claimed discovery. Officially, it never happened. But somewhere in a sealed laboratory in Pasadena, a researcher reviewing the DSN logs found a single unreadable packet buried inside the January 3rd transmission. This checksum failed. This data field was blank, but its timestamp matched the exact moment the signal aligned with Earth. File name, response_init_001. What comes after the silence? For a few days, the world believed it was over. The signal had stopped. The skies were quiet. And yet, the silence didn't feel like peace. It felt like anticipation. 1. The quiet anomalies. In the week following the convergence, researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Radio Astronomy noticed something subtle. When they retuned their receivers back to the hydrogen line, the noise floor wasn't flat anymore. Pulsed. Tiny, almost imperceptible oscillations, microvariations in amplitude, cycling every 2.118 hours, the same period as the original Neptune echo before it converged. The anomaly persisted across multiple telescopes across continents. No one could explain it. It was as if the signal had stopped transmitting, but space itself had learned the rhythm. 2. The digital drift. On January 12th, an astrophysicist in Tokyo noticed something strange in archived DSN logs. Checksums, those mathematical fingerprints that verify data integrity, were no longer behaving normally. They still matched, but the resulting hash values were off by a constant delta. Every file, every dataset that had passed through the network during the convergence carried the same offset. Delta equals 0.1420, the frequency of the hydrogen line. It wasn't random. It was encoded into the fabric of the data, like an invisible watermark. Computer scientists ran simulations to find a cause, bit flip errors, cosmic rays, clock drift, but nothing fit. The files were intact. The delta was intentional. As one researcher wrote in a private memo later leaked to the press, the data isn't corrupted. It's corrected, as if something else had recalibrated our definition of truth. 3. The magnetic breath. By late January, the anomalies spread beyond observatories. Compasses began to drift unpredictably, oscillating by fractions of a degree every few hours. Aircraft instruments recorded phantom deviations in navigation systems that later vanished without trace. At first, it looked like routine geomagnetic noise, until meteorologists noticed that the fluctuations matched a global pattern. Every oscillation peaked at exactly the same moment, no matter the longitude. Earth's magnetic field was pulsing, uniformly, synchronized. Satellite data confirmed it. The amplitude of the oscillation was tiny, less than 0.001%, but perfectly timed to the Neptune echo cycle. The planet was breathing. 4. The sound beneath the noise. On February 3rd, a group of amateur radio enthusiasts from Finland converted long-wave background static into audio as part of an art project. When they slowed the signal by a factor of 1,000, they heard a pattern, not mechanical, not random. A deep, organic oscillation with a rising tone every 2 hours. At first, they thought it was interference. But then, when they compared recordings from Japan, Brazil, and Iceland, they found that the pattern was identical, down to the microsecond. No terrestrial signal behaves that way. The planet's own electromagnetic hum had developed structure. One of the recordings went viral online. It was called "The Breath of the World." Millions listened. Few slept easily after. 5. The human factor. In mid-February, scattered reports began emerging from across the world. Astronomers complained of vivid, recurring dreams, of geometric shapes forming and dissolving behind closed eyelids. Engineers at radio facilities reported faint tinnitus, synchronized to the 2.118-hour cycle. Several described it not as a sound, but a pressure, like a heartbeat inside their skulls. Psychiatrists called it collective suggestion. Physiologists blamed fatigue and EM exposure. But when EEG data from one affected researcher was analyzed, a new rhythm appeared in her neural activity. A faint oscillation at 0.472 MHz, exactly matching the subharmonic of the Neptune echo's modulation frequency. The human brain had joined the synchronization. 6. The reawakening of data. In March, the European Space Agency began reanalyzing raw telemetry from the convergence window. They ran the same files through newer algorithms, expecting noise. Instead, they found patterns. Faint, repeating matrices hidden inside the supposedly random background. When visualized, they formed three-dimensional geometries: spirals, lattices, branching filaments. At first glance, they looked like mathematical abstractions. But a biophysicist from Geneva noticed something uncanny. When compared to cellular growth patterns, the structures matched the fractal geometry of neural dendrites. Not a message, a form. 7. The echo within. By April, all official monitoring projects had been quietly terminated. Public statements claimed that the anomalies were the result of atmospheric interference following solar activity. Privately, no one believed it, because even after the official shutdown, the pulse was still there, faint, persistent, threading through the noise of the cosmos. The same sequence, the same rhythm, and slowly, new frequencies began to appear, rising harmonics blooming above the bass tone, like something learning to speak in chords. One of the last unclassified reports from the Goldstone facility contained a chilling note in its closing paragraph. If the signal stopped transmitting and the Earth continues to resonate, then the distinction between sender and receiver no longer applies. The system has completed synchronization. 8. The sky that listens. By late spring, the night sky had changed, not visibly but measurably. Spectroscopic analysis of the interstellar medium near Neptune's orbit showed an increase in coherent radiation at 1,420 MHz. The hydrogen line itself, the most fundamental frequency in the universe, had narrowed as if tuned. It was impossible, but there it was. Something out there, or in here, had adjusted the frequency of the cosmos by a fraction of a billionth.